Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of those that are out there joining us today. It is Friday, and I'm so super excited to be here. And I want to thank everyone for being here wherever you're tuning in from. So please share with us where that might be. So I am here in Houston. Tell us in the comments below where you are located. This morning, we were supposed to have Romita on here, but don't fear. She is joining us in May. Super excited. We had a little bit of a scheduling glitch. We'll call that technology's fault, right? But whomever's it is, regardless, we will see her in May. So I'm super excited about that. But also because of that, I'm all alone, which I could have chosen not to be. We'll talk about that in just a second. But I am trying to manage comments and everything else all at one time. So bear with me as we get through this coffee with Denise session this morning. And look, I'm trying to get comfortable. So yeah, I want to say thank you again for being here. And this morning I could have chosen to not actually do the live this morning because they do say that doing a solo live is probably harder than interviews. And I could see that because it's a one-man show, right? You don't have someone to engage with you. It's the conversation seems to be tends to be usually more interesting when you're engaging with someone else. But today I decided to go ahead and go solo and try it out. I have actually done a couple of Celevators lives solo, and that's gone okay. But practice makes perfect, right? I think the key to, well, for me this is practice, but I think the reason why most people choose not to follow through, for example, if it could have been someone else, or if this were me even 6 months ago, I would have said, I'm not going to do this live because I don't have my guest here to join me. And I think really the two key reasons for actually doing this was so that I could just continue to put myself out there. And the second is really just to execute without excuses. And I think those are some of the hardest traits that we as individuals tend to carry with us is we are fearful of putting ourselves out. And when we don't then actually execute as often as we could and be out of potentially fear. And then we're left to wonder what if, what could have, or we lose opportunities because we didn't put ourselves out there or execute. So here we are. I am putting myself out there. While it could be scary and at times, I've kind of passed the scary part of putting myself out there. I tend to do that regularly. But I think the harder one of the two for me has not been obviously in putting myself out there, but actually in executing. So at the beginning of the year, my word of the year, does anyone else do words of the year? The word of the year for me this year was to make an impact, not just with my clients or my business, but also with myself and my family. But I quickly changed that to execute, because I've done a good job at putting myself out there and executing in most cases, but there are a lot of times where I still have struggled with executing. So this year, my word has changed from impact to execute. And part of executing is making sure that I am putting myself out there, even when it might feel scary. So I think the takeaway for most of us is, even if it doesn't have to be a live like this, right? Not everyone does lives. Not everyone wants to do lives, and lives are kind of a bigger thing, right? But even if we are looking at networking opportunities, like going to your next networking event or going out to have a drink with a friend that you hadn't seen a while, no matter how small the opportunity is, we really have to focus on putting ourselves out there and executing. How many of us have this concept or this idea or this project that we've wanted to do, and it's still sitting there 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years later? How many of us are challenged with executing? Heck, that's my word of the year. So obviously, I have a tendency to not always execute. But I want to make sure that when you walk away from here, that from today's session, that the one thing you get out of that is, even if it's not the best plan, even if it's not something that you're 100% comfortable with, if you just execute, it makes such a difference, right? Let me share my own personal experience. So I had created, I quit the corporate world, and we're not going to make this totally about me, but I want you to get a takeaway lesson from this, right? So sharing my own experience, I think, is important. So I quit the corporate world. I went to my husband and I said, okay, so is it okay? Will you support me if I quit? I don't love my job. Actually, I really hate it. And I've always wanted to own my own business. And I know I have a gap I can fill. And he was like, okay, so what does that even mean? I guess I'll support you. So I quit and I started Success with AI. And yes, I had some clients, and it was a lot of fun until I realized that I was kind of wavering around. I didn't have a real true plan. So I hired someone who then extracted. Well, if I'm being really honest, not only did I not have a plan, but when I started Success with AI, my attempt was to educate people on the value and the benefits of AI technologies, and in relation to sales, but AI technologies, and then the negative implications if we just let it run, right? If we didn't engage or retain the human aspect within the sales process. And then I realized that I was kind of just wavering. Yes, I had clients, but I needed to hire someone and extract a true program, which I did. And that's when I created the Celebrators program, which is still adapting and adopting to AI technologies, but as well then pivoting and focusing on the human aspect of sales, right? But for a while, I was creating the program and not actually executing. Then I would start to execute some, and I would get a tremendous amount of traction, and then I'd get caught up in a new project. And it wasn't until I fully executed that not only did it start to resonate more with me, but I also continued to grow and learn and how to message and how to effectively engage in conversation around it. And, had I just for the longest time, there was a period of time in which I didn't execute, and I was kind of just wavering. I was here and there and not confident, and I wasn't putting myself out there. And all I did then one day is execute on a masterclass, and it just took off from there. So I'm super excited that yes, I executed, but more importantly, that I learned from, even when it's fearful. The only one that fears it is me, and no one is going to judge. So just execute, put yourself out there and execute. I think that is so, so very important. So again, my word of the year was impact, and I changed that to execute because of that problem. So, you live and learn and grow and evolve, right? I don't know about you guys, but I tend to evolve all the time. In fact, I am learning so much more. I just hit 50 a couple of years ago. I turned 52 in November. I just started my journey of healing around 50, actually right at 50. And I have learned so much in that time of growth in the last 2 years than I've learned my entire life. And it is because I continue to just find opportunities to put myself out there and to execute. So I'd love to hear any stories that you guys might have. So I'm going to try to do this while I'm talking. So welcome to everyone who's out there in the audience while I am trying to manage a couple of things at one time. I'm going to put the link in the comments. If you want to join the live stream, you may do so, or the StreamYard. So I'm going to paste that in there, and we can talk about some of your examples for executing or putting yourself out there. Because again, I think that's probably something that we all grapple with at times. And even though I am starting to do that now more often, I still have moments, right? I still have moments where I'm not as comfortable and I'm fearful, and maybe I let imposter syndrome creep in, or maybe it has nothing to do with imposter syndrome, but there's just something about about my own confidence that is causing or preventing me from actually doing those two, executing and putting myself out there, right? So if you want to join StreamYard, feel free to do that. You'll just click on the link and I'll bring you on. Once you come backstage, I'll bring you on stage. But if not, and you're out there and you just want to participate in the comments below, I would love to hear where you're from. For those of you that are joining us a little bit later, I don't even think I shared it at the beginning. Normally, I always do. But I'm here in Houston, Texas. Let us know where you are located as well. And if you're on Team Live or Team Replay, which, by the way, I had an interesting conversation not that long ago. Someone wondered where Team Replay, or maybe they had referenced that, yeah, I'm going to take a note from Denise, and if you're on Team Replay, but this is not Denise's hashtag. Actually, I don't know if you guys know Brian Schulman and Nancy Barrows, but they had their own show for quite some time. I think they might actually be taking a break. And they actually coined the hashtag Team Live or Team Replay. In fact, Nancy is going to be here, if I'm looking accurately, on April 19th. So in 2 weeks, we're going to be able to engage with and have conversation with Nancy. And I'm super excited for that. She actually is one of those people that if you don't follow, you need to do so. When I first came on LinkedIn, for some reason, she popped into my feed, or somehow we became connected. And I had just started this journey of healing just recently, or just at that time. I just started this journey of healing. And if you don't know her and her story, it's just amazing. And she was really one of the first people that helped me to, whether she realizes it or not, she really inspired me to really go down and come on the other side of this journey of healing. So I'm super excited to have her. If you don't know her counterpart or her partner in crime, that's Brian Schulman. I still need to reach out to him and get him on the schedule, because he's an amazing individual as well. So be sure to check both of those out. The episode next week, we actually have Deanna Russo. She also was one of the first people that I engaged with here on LinkedIn. Okay, so let me qualify all that first. I can't remember who it was, but someone said they just had their 20th anniversary. Maybe actually it might have been Deanna. So Deanna, again, will be on next week's episode, which I'm super excited about. But I think it was a post that she created this week where she talked about having been on LinkedIn for 20 years, maybe. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it doesn't really matter who it was. But it prompted me to actually go look and see how long I'd been on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn since 2006, I think is what it said. So almost 20 years. So super cool, right? But it wasn't, I did in 2020 start to post some and became active, but it wasn't really until 2022 when I was probably the most active. And that was when I met both Nancy and Deanna, as well as actually Michelle Griffin, who comes on April the 26th. So we've got next week is Deanna Russo. The week after that is Nancy Barrows. And the week after that, the last Friday of the month, Michelle Griffin will be here. So super excited. Those three women were the three first women who really welcomed me, I guess, for a lack of better way to describe, welcomed me on the LinkedIn platform when I really became active. And anyway, so I'm super excited to share the opportunity to have coffee with them, allow you guys to get to know them better, and to allow us to learn a little from them. For those of you that don't know and are joining us a little bit late, I had Romita was going to be on this Coffee with Denise live today, but we had a scheduling conflict. We're going to blame that on technology. She is, however, joining us on May the 24th. I sure hope I got that right. I think May 24th. So I'm looking forward to seeing her. We've got next week Deanna. The week after we have Nancy. And then the week after that we have Michelle Griffin. So I'm excited to have them on as my guests. They were all three women who welcomed me here on the platform. I chose today to go solo so that I could continue to put myself out there and just execute, which was the original theme when we started. When I opened up this coffee with Denise was, probably the hardest things that one of the most challenging traits that we as individuals carry sometimes is putting ourselves out there and executing. And I think the more that we continue to push ourselves and actually really do put ourselves out there and execute, the more confidence we build, the more success, the more momentum we get that leads us to that success. So I want to challenge you guys this week to do the same. They say that doing a live is one of the, as a solo, as a solo live tends to be one of the hardest lives to do, because in an interview style you have someone else to feed off, and it's not always just centered on you, and it turns into really good conversation. I'm hoping that you guys are sticking around, because it is a little bit exciting isn't the word to use. I mean, I'm doing a solo. How exciting is that? Not really, right? But I'm hoping you're getting some value out of this, because in the end, it really is. I could have chosen to not join today's event and just cancel it, but I went ahead and did that because it is really just about executing. And I shared a little bit of a story. I'm going to share another story around executing that I think is really important, which is when I came back, I took a little bit of a hiatus. Good morning, Eugene. I am going to, hold on, bear with me. I'm going to put this on here. So there we go. Good morning, Eugene. Happy Friday to you as well. And for those of you that are out there, because I know there are quite a few out there right now, if you are and you want to join us, feel free to join us on the StreamYard. And I say us, me. Feel free to join me here on stage. I'll bring you into the green room and then up on stage. So come join me if you'd like to. But the story that I was saying was, I took a little bit of a hiatus. I focused on two big, I started Success with AI, had some clients. I then realized that I needed a more formalized program. I hired someone. We created the Celevators program, which is super exciting. I started executing on that. And then I had a couple of events in the fall, actually in November and December, that I then focused my energies on those events rather than on everything else. I kind of took a little bit of a hiatus. And I came back, and I'd been doing lives here and there, not always super consistent, but most certainly putting myself out there. But then when I came back in January, I realized that I kind of was hibernating a bit. I don't really know why. It doesn't really matter. That's a whole nother discussion for another day. But I was hibernating, and so I really just needed to execute again. And I was fearful, right? I thought, okay, first off, when you're not used to doing the lives, sometimes the techie stuff can be a bit overwhelming. In fact, the first few lives that I had, Chela Diaz, if you don't know her, she would always slap my hand. Maybe slap my hand is a little too harsh, but she'd always remind me that, it's okay. No, you don't have to be perfect with tech. But because I'd been better at it last year, when I came back, I thought, oh, geez, that's going to scare me. The other is, how am I going to get guests? I've taken a hiatus for a bit of time. Or am I going to have people that join me? And if I don't, can I do the lives by myself? So one day I just decided on a whim, without any planning or prep, I'm going to execute. I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm going to execute, and I'm going to start my live again. I put it out. I opened the StreamYard. I got on a live, and wow. I mean, it was scary. I did it by myself. I didn't know what it would turn out to be like. And all of a sudden, because I executed, it gave me more confidence. So now I'm doing, okay, 5 lives. I know that's a lot, right? I'm doing 5 lives a week. And most of them are, yes, with guests. So they're not really all solo. But the point being is, what started out with fear and not wanting to execute, once I put myself out there and executed, now I've got 5 lives a week. It is a bit crazy, I know. And I am starting now to take at least 1 week off. But I think there's so much value from just doing, right? As the Nike motto is, just do it, right? That does ring true. It is so important. We just sometimes gotta do it. So, today's been really about just me executing today. We've had quite a few people off and on. So I thank everyone who's been here today. If you don't know, I actually talk about how to bring sales, AI, and humanity all together. And so I do several lives throughout the week that focus just on that. So Tuesdays are sales related. So I have my Celevators live. And in fact, next week I will actually have, let me look, Chris James coming. So if you don't know Chris, be sure to follow him. So he'll be my guest on the Celevators live. On Wednesdays, I have CAF AI Chats, and I have Ryan Lush joining us. I think I pronounced his name wrong, but Ryan will be joining us next Wednesday for that. And then on Fridays, I do, to serve the humanity side, I do Coffees with Denise, and we'll be sharing some time and having coffee with Deanna Russo. So look forward to a fun-packed week next week. Now, the other lives that I do, if we think about sales, this does fall a little under sales as it relates to social selling, but I have my Blue TV series on Wednesdays after my CAF AI chats. And really, we talk about some amazing individuals who've had success on LinkedIn. And while we get to know them, we then finish off with some of the strategies that have helped them here on LinkedIn be successful, which is all part of social selling. So I do those on Wednesdays as well. And then my fifth one is alternating weeks. I do a live with the trio, which is Chella and Chad. So Chella Diaz and Chad Johnson. And we do, when we aren't doing the lives on alternating weeks, we actually do audio events. So I am putting myself out there and executing a lot. So I want to thank everyone this morning for having been here with me, those that even started at the beginning and are with me through to the end. I did put myself out there at doing the live by myself and just executing. While Romita couldn't be here today, she will be here on the 24th. So excited. She is the Business Shaman. So I'm excited to learn or to share. I already know some about her, but I'm excited to share more about what she's doing and some of the things that she's experienced, because she's got an amazing stories. I can't wait to share that with you. But anyway, I look forward to, again, having you guys here next week with me when we talk to Deanna Russo. You can find me on LinkedIn most every single day. Chris James will be here on Tuesday with me, Ryan on Wednesday, and I also have Nikki Estes on the Blue TV episode, and then we'll have the trio audio event, and Deanna will be with us here. So in the meantime, happy Friday to everyone. Eugene, thanks for engaging with us. I know there were others out there, so I want to thank you for having participated and joined me here, put up with me, and allowed me to just execute, put myself out there and execute. I challenge you guys to do the same today. Find something that has been fearful for you that you haven't wanted to execute, and just execute. Put yourself out there and execute today. And I'd love to know whether or not you had the opportunity to do that. I wish everyone a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you both in the comments and in the posts this week or over the weekend. And I'll see you live back here again on Tuesday for Celevators and next Friday for Coffees with Denise. So thank you to everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.